Hi, it's Craig here, Product Manager for BlueWorx at Zag. Welcome to this highlights video of our BlueWorx Support Pack 7 release. In it, I'll be showcasing the major innovations and changes that we've delivered. There's a fair bit to cover, so I'll work through them and just explain some of them in more detail as we go. From time to time, I'll move out of the main application to go into the BlueWorx Administration app so that you can see how to configure these. Bear in mind that there is more than just what I'm going to demonstrate in this release. We've included that in the notes that come out and in our online documentation. So let's get started. So in the main menu, we've rationalized a few of the elements. We've moved the settings around to the top right and introduced a new icon that I'll cover off as we move through this. Not a lot of change, nothing that's going to impact too much on the users. Let's move on to the changes in my work. So the first change I want to talk about is the filter option down the bottom here. This is as a result of customer feedback, and so we now allow you to make dynamic selections based upon the values that are displayed in the list to the right at both the order and at the operation level. Once you've got search criteria that you want to save for a while, then you can save it as variants so that you can come back to it. So for example, if you've got a maintenance list with revisions that you wait for an unplanned shutdown, you can have that on hand and just apply the variant. That variant's just personal to yourself. So that's the first of those changes covered off. The second one in this area is the ability to view the components that you've got ordered against all the work orders. So that allows you, before you move out to the work area, to maybe check on stores and see if anything's come in for the jobs that you got at hand. We'll just move into one of these orders now, and we can see we've made a few small changes around the layout in terms of the grouping, some of the dates and functions, just to realign it a little bit more and make better use of the real estate that we've got there. Similarly, we've done the same thing on notifications. So if I move back out again, pick one of my notifications, we've made some changes to the layout, and the big news is that we've now exposed, if you want to, the items and cause area. And with configuration options, you can make this mandatory. So let's go and have a look at that now. So I'm just going to swap across to the administration, go into the core settings, go into notifications, and this item block setting is showing the item block and the causes, and then down to the left there's mandatory. You can make the item, cause, and even activity and tasks mandatory in those. So that's one of the changes that got asked for by the customer. And also in that same vein, now when you're maintaining one of these items, you actually get a much easier way to maintain the whole of that item and causes and associated activities and tasks if applicable. So you may have noticed on some of these screens a new icon down the right hand side. So this is a new item for favorites and history. So I select that now and we can see the history. It'll retain one record, the latest time that you've accessed it, of anything that you've moved through in terms of equipment, function location, orders and notifications. So that's quite handy if you've been working on something, you move away, you come back to work on it again, you don't have to research to find it. So I can get straight back into where I was. It also has the ability for you to flag function locations or equipment as favorites. So it has the list here. If I go into one of mine, I can see there's a new button down here that's flagged as a favorite with the star, and I can unfavorite it to remove it from my list. Those favorites, again, are personal to yourself, and they synchronize with the SAP system and come back to whatever device that you're working on. Next area of change is around permits. So we've now included the optional use of permits in BlueWorx, and we've got a new tab here. So in this case, we've got 2 permits that are available. A little bit of a change that we've made in the interest of trying to keep workers safe is that if you try and create a notification for anything with a permit, then it's going to warn you that a permit exists for that. Indeed, if you then progress to try and create an order, it'll do the same, except if the permit is a required blocking permit, in which case it will deny you the ability to create an order for an equipment or functional location that has permits attached. The config for permits is set up underneath the new area here, which you switch it on or off. And then it just takes the settings from the back end of SAP. The next innovation item is around inspections, and we've now built in the ability to maintain HTML-rich content for the inspection header and for select questions so that you can explain them better. So here's my list of questions in an inspection. The information content can now contain images, tables, header text, and for individual questions I can now do the same. So in this case I've gone and embedded an image in there, and that's come as a direct result of seeing multiple examples from customers where they've wanted to move from paper-based forms. So this allows you to just make that content a little bit more specific, a little bit more tailored for all your inspection requirements. So now let's have a look at the configuration for those for that inspection and the question. I'm over in the BlueWorx admin. I'll go and have a look at my inspections that I was just looking at. We can see there's inspection information there in display format, and I can move into seeing it in the HTML editor with normal sort of editing and formatting functions available there. Similarly, I can for the inspection question, I can go into that and edit using the same rich text editor. Now you've got to be sensible, I guess, in the way that this gets applied in terms of a lot of uses of images is obviously going to increase the amount of data that's going between the SAP system and devices. But we have done some work to try and minimize that impact. We do sense if the image has changed, so that if you have a series of the same inspections being used on different asset types going down to the device, then we'll sense the, if you like, the version of the image and only take one copy of it to the device in an effort to save you time and network data. So that concludes the HTML for inspection questions. The next item, there's not so much to show as a config option. Back over in the administration area, we now have the ability under orders under inspections to generate inspections for orders in the background. So that's going to automatically generate anything that's being configured specifically for order types and for different equipment and function location types, rather than generating them on the device. That's as a direct result of our customers requesting that that functionality be enabled, and so new release and new functionality there. So the next item I wanted to cover off is another one that got requested from customers, and that's around the generation of user profiles. So now if I go into user profiles, there's a new option that allows you to generate or regenerate the profile directly from within the application. And it also handily shows you where the profile has been generated by the routine batch jobs as well, so you can see how current the data is that's going out to your users. Okay, so the last item that we're going to talk about is spatial enablement of SAP plant maintenance that we're delivering in this release through BlueWorx. So prior to the support pack, we've had the ability to show point assets through the classification data that was maintained for a latitude and longitude against a function location or equipment record, and that's been optional. We've also had the ability to configure and take in layer data from external services, Esri, ArcGIS, and lay that over the top of the map. But what we haven't had is the ability to record assets that are either linear, in other words a road that has many points, or that have a shape, a work site, which are polygons. So that's the news of this release. We've finally enabled this, and we've taken it a step further in that we're not just doing the location of these assets, but also doing annotations against the assets and allowing you to do that, and to record actions against notifications and work orders. Right, so let's go through some of that. Going to go back into my favorites and go to one of my favorite local tramping tracks. I'm going to use this as the example. This could be a road, it could be rail, it could be anything that's a linear asset in this particular case. If I come and have a look, now we've first changes that we've unified the maps, the map tabs throughout orders, function locations, equipment and notifications, so that it's now consistent. We don't show a mini-map any longer in the objects list of work orders, because with lots of objects that just pushed it down off the page. So now there's one place to get a consistent overview, and we get to it from the map tab. There's a few new buttons there, and we've got a list here of different items, so I'll just go through those. So as this is a location, function location, or if it was an equipment record, we can maintain two things against it. We can maintain its location, and we can maintain some annotations. So best thing to do is to show you how that looks, and I'll just jump into the map. So here we are, and I'll just zoom in a little bit, and we can see that I've gone and maintain the location of the actual track, or the road, or the rail, or whatever it is, and I put in a few fictitious slips in the surrounding areas. So you can go out and put geographical features, or if this was a work site, you might annotate that the dangerous goods shed's over here, or anything that you need in that sort of respect. So we can go and use this in the next step to actually signal that there's work that's related to this item. So we'll just back out of here, and we'll go in and create a notification for this item. This is a good example of using the functionality that I showed before with our new notification. This isn't going to make a lot of sense in this example, and have a description. save my notification, go across to the map, and now I'm presented with two options here. I can either edit using the map, or I can edit using the GPS functionality if I was on a mobile device. I'm at a desktop, so I'm going to use the map function. The difference in the map function between desktop and on a mobile device is that on the desktop we use the mouse pointer. On the mobile device we actually move the map underneath with a series of crosshairs. So let's go and have a look at that. So I'm back to the same place that I was. It's showing me my annotations and everything else, and in this case we've got a tree down, or several trees down. So I'll come in and I'll select that, yep, I've got to do some track trimming here, and the trees have come down at this area from here to here. And so I'll just complete that and say that may need a chainsaw for this one. And go and save it. I could put another area in as well if there'd been quite a bit of storm damage. Okay, so I've now gone and maintained two work areas associated with this notification. Close that down and you see that they've now come through, and save it. If I come back in again, I'm actually going to carry on and for the purposes of demonstration, and carry on and create a field order for this. Having created the field order, go and have a look on the map, and I can see that my track trimming jobs have come through to my work order. Click on the map to go and have a look at those, and I can see the two areas highlighted, and it's also signaling that I have a notification outstanding for them, and indeed I can click on them and go and complete them. So there's also a setting that either enables or disables me from being able to complete the order without having to completed these items. Now it could be in some cases that you can't in fact complete items, and so we have the ability to be able to go and change it, change the assignment of a notification or create a new notification. So if you got out there and you found one of the trees was a bit bigger than the chainsaw you bought, you could create another notification and send out another crew at another time. So in terms of linear assets, think anything there. Okay, so that's giving you a pretty good idea of that new function. So this actually is quite powerful in terms of the overall offering that brings into a maintenance world. It's not intended to replace the extensive use of geospatial systems like Esri ArcGIS. This is about having a real work focus around it and being able to manage that. Okay, so let's go and have a look at how all of these settings are maintained. Over in BlueWorx admin, we have maintain map settings. That's an existing one, and we now have a geo capture tab that's new. Now if you're a customer that's already been using the latitude longitude classification values in previous releases of BlueWorx, we'll automatically convert those based upon the equipment or function location type into a new reference location layer here. So it'll look something like this. So we obviously not going to maintain a description for you, but we've made it that it's a location. It's a point asset because you've got a latitude and longitude, and it's associated with whatever object type we find on conversion. A maximum zoom of 16 and 23. So we'll do that for you automatically. There won't be any properties maintained either. You can then go and enhance that if you like. So here's an example of that, where we've gone and maintained the description and uploaded for a point asset a icon. So that's a location, and that's a point. Of course, we can get a little bit more elaborate than that. So if I go and have a look at some of the things that we were just looking at before, which was the track, which could just as easily be a road or a rail. In this case, we're saying that it's not a point, it's a line, and it's visible from 11 to 23. And in this case, we've chosen to have value-based rendering on. Now, what value-based rendering allows us to do is, using up to 3 characteristics or SAP statuses, is that we can change the appearance of what we're rendering based upon the values that we get. So if I come across to the rendering information, I can see that I've got 2 values, open and closed. So if it's open, it's going to use this color and this weight, and if it's closed, it's going to use this weight and this color. So for a point asset, that may be changing an icon. So if you've got a shut-off valve that you record the status of its state, or electrical components, then you can change the rendering based upon the values that are coming out of your SAP system. So in a workflow scenario, you could have an inspection that goes out, changes one of these values, it hits SAP, and from then on, anyone rendering that map will see a different state of that particular item. And we can also maintain properties where appropriate. So if I come back out again and have a look at the track trim that I just used, in this case I've set it up as an action. So it's something to be done against, or started from a notification or directly against an order and leading to work being done. It's a line. You saw me make a line. I've maintained the zoom levels, and in this case I've limited it to just 2 different object types. So only the track ones down the bottom of the list. That one and another one. And I'm not doing any value-based rendering on this one. I'm just putting in a solid green line. I was, though, asking about, when I created those in my example, tools. And so here I go and maintain the tools that are required. And that could be anything, other associations like I had for slips. So if I have a look at the slips, in this case I have created a polygon. So those are the little brown areas that you were seeing. I've put a zoom level on there. I've shown how they'll be located on the map, and I've asked or given the ability to capture an estimation from whoever creates the annotation of potentially what year this occurred. Okay, so there's quite a bit there to digest, and I think in terms of the geospatial areas, there's a lot of use cases that we've yet to think of. In our notes and online notes and explanations of some of these, we've gone through and highlighted those. It's kind of exciting to actually spatially enable work in SAP. So this has taken a fair bit to get to it, and we're very keen on getting feedback from customers as to how we can improve on it, and hearing use cases of what you're doing with it as well.
So that about wraps it up for this release. Hope you like what you're seeing. We've tried to focus in this release a lot on the end user and enriching the experience that they have, and providing value through new functionality to take BlueWorx to the next level. So if you've been waiting on this release as a customer, thank you for your patience, and thanks too for all the customers and contributing ideas that have gone towards us. Special mention, of course, we're sitting on an SAP platform. It's the backbone of what we do here, and we're enabling this out to the mobile world using Neptune software. That's what gives us this a special sauce in this case, and allowing us to take the mobilization to a new level. So if you've got any other questions, you're welcome to contact us through our support site. Even if you're not a customer, you're welcome to register and raise a ticket if you've got some queries, or self-service and find out more information. For those that are customers, the release details are in this section, and just check out the announcements for any changes that are made along the way. So finally, wherever you are in the world, I hope you and yours are safe. I hope you like what you've seen, and that you get some added value out of BlueWorx with this release. Thanks.